As someone who's been an avid gamer since the early 80s, one thing has perplexed me for years. Within the retro community, we see a ton of love for the 8 and 16-bit console generations, with a heavy focus on the Super Nintendo, Mega Drive, and to a lesser extent, the PC Engine. There's something about the old hardware along with games in the cartridge format that just speaks to people. It's one reason that the Atari Jaguar, which sold less than 250,000 units, continues to be a smashing success in the homebrew scene. However, there is one system that rarely gets any love in these communities, even though it sold nearly as many units as the Mega Drive and Super Nintendo combined, and by design is an extension of that generation of hardware and games. The platform in question is the Game Boy Advance. It's not to say that the platform doesn't get coverage, but it's a bit of an oddity, as the coverage almost always focuses on the hardware and mods rather than the software. We are now 13 years removed from the last commercial game, which released in 2008. But that clock is about to reset to zero, as Goodboy Galaxy is set to debut in 2022. This is Retro Impressions, Goodboy Galaxy.
There have been other aftermarket GBA releases, but I feel that the Goodboy Galaxy is the first time we've really seen a GBA game that's sort of taking the modern indie route of like going through a Kickstarter and publishing on other platforms as well. So the GBA is, I feel like, one of the most accessible and best consoles to develop for, or to get into as a hobbyist developer and make things fall by yourself.
Goodboy Galaxy's team consists of two people, Jeremy on programming and sound, Rick on art design and sound as well. So what's the game about? Is the preview I played any good? And what can I tell you about it? I had the opportunity to sit down and chat with Jeremy about his project and asked how he got into game creation and how Goodboy Galaxy came to be.
Got really interested in the DS homebrew scene. That was sort of my first experience with it being possible for hobbyists to make their own games or unofficial games for Nintendo consoles. And that was sort of what inspired me to learn programming and try and get into it. It's been a really long journey since then to actually get remotely decent at programming and actually have the skills to make something bigger and that I'm really proud of. We were doing game jams around each other's houses on the weekends sometimes, and we had this crazy idea to make a Game Boy Advance game for Ludum Dare, which is a 48-hour game jam, or 72 hours if you're working in a team. We basically spent the whole weekend trying to get like the minimum that we could together, or just get as much done as we could. Yeah, so we did Ludum Dare. We somehow made a GBA game in 2 or 3 days, and it was okay. It was pretty rough around the edges. There was there were no enemies, but the basic idea was there of there's a dog in space and his rocket's broken and he has to travel through the same level with different abilities missing each time, so that he's forced to take different pathways. The jam game that we made then was basically like a very early prototype, and we were pretty happy with how it went. So we decided to just keep working on it and try and make it into a full thing with characters and enemies and a story and lots of different planets.
This is first and foremost a Game Boy Advance release, so what exactly does that mean for off-platform ports?
So that sort of depends on how well the Kickstarter does. So if we just barely make our goal, then we're probably going to do an emulation-based port for the PC and Switch. If it turns out to be really successful and we exceed our goals, then we have a stretch goal, which is to do like a full native port with high quality music and audio and native aspect ratio and stuff like that. So fingers crossed we'll get there and we'll be able to make like a really strong port and possibly even include some extras like multiplayer co-op and stuff like that. Our priority is to get the GBA version to be like as good as it can be first, and then sort of once that's all wrapped up and is ready to be put onto cartridges and stuff, then we'll look into doing the Switch port then.
The team is also giving out an incredible gift in what they are calling a demo, but the reality is it's a standalone game. It's free and almost certainly won't be included with the main release.
We really wanted it to be like its own thing, so the game will begin shortly after the events of the demo. But I was sort of inspired by, say, Deltarune and Night in the Woods. I know those are games that had I'm not sure what the deal is for Deltarune actually, but I know, so Night in the Woods had a couple of sort of supplementary games that you could enjoy that were sort of offshoots from the main story that came out before the final game did. Yeah, we sort of wanted to do something along those lines, just so that people won't think, oh, I better hold off from playing the demo because I don't want to be spoiled. At least that's how I think, so I'm assuming that other people would have that attitude too, and we wanted something that people could enjoy now.
I have 4 kids, and they all grew up owning a Game Boy Advance, so I asked my son Xavier to check it out on his system, then give me his thoughts. I later played the game myself using the Game Boy player via my GameCube, and that's the footage you've been looking at. Overall, I can say I'm extremely impressed, and I can't think of another game I'm more excited to experience, making this game my current #1 most anticipated game. In fact, I'm so excited about this, I've decided to make this video so I could talk a bit more about it. I also sat down with Xavier and asked him some questions as well, so you can get the perspective of someone a tad bit younger than me. So Xavier, what game did you just finish?
Yeah, so the game I played was Goodboy Galaxy. That was pretty fun.
Tell me a bit about it and give me some of your thoughts on it.
I thought it was pretty good art style, and the gameplay was nice, and I liked the characters, and the upgrades were cool, from the pea shooter you got to the big gun that shot the big bullet. That was really nice. Yeah, you'd have to do quests to get friends, and you didn't have to friend everyone, but it was pretty nice trying to get everyone as your friend. I think it's really nice that they were making another game even after 13 years of the last games released on the Game Boy Advance.
Tell me a bit about the gameplay, things you liked or didn't like, and your hopes for the next game in the series.
I'm hoping for just more stuff like they did with the demo, and I did like the shooting mechanic and the shield and that stuff, and I like the gates on how they took it away. That was pretty fun. The music was nice and it fitted perfectly and with the game and scenery around it.
What game, if any, does it most remind you of?
I don't really know what it reminded me of anything really. It did kind of reminded me of the Metroid game I played, Metroid Fusion. I think that pretty much sums it up.
So yeah, I highly recommend you check out the demo, as it's a fantastic 45-minute experience, well worth the price of admission. If you like that, consider supporting the main game. Supporting projects like this, especially when built with passion and quality in mind, is of the utmost importance to me, and I honestly feel this is worthy of your support. I'll have links in the description box if you're interested in checking it out. That's it for now, and until next time, thank you for watching Retro Impressions.